Welcome to DTLA. Downtown is Los Angeles. Hello, Danielle. How are you today?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
I'm great.
It's been a couple of weeks since we got together because we took the holiday week off. So what did you do during your holiday week, 4th of July week?
I've done something quite interesting a few days ago. We went to Brentwood to see a show, The Hope Theory. It was a very surprising concept. So it's a theater show, but it's an illusionist.
Okay.
And he's mixing a kind of theater play where he's alone with illusions. It was very interesting. He was sharing about his journey to the United States because he's from Portugal, from Europe. So I identify quite a lot to his story. He arrived here with a O1 visa and he's explaining all of that. And he's connecting the show where he's building illusions and, with cards and all the typical things that magicians do. Yeah. And connecting that with also the illusion that he had by coming to the United States. Was super interesting.
Good? You recommend it?
Absolutely. That's really something to do.
Right, cool.
And then you will be, but is it connected to downtown? Yes, because who actually, it was when I was at the show that I realized that, who's done the scenography? It's our good friend, François-Pierre Couture.
Oh, yeah.
Who is a great downtown resident. So I discovered in the leaflet, God, I know someone here. So it's just super interesting. Oh. Yeah. And what did you do?
So on the 4th of July, I went to an event that was hosted by one of our local businesses, Kippered, down by Grand Central Market. And they were grilling hot dogs out on the patio, and they had a lot of people from the neighborhood came out, and it was a little mini party, and then went to Grand Central Market and had some ice cream at McConnells. They're doing a collaboration with Seas, so both California companies. And so did a little neighborhood party on the 4th. And then we did something last week. We went to the Alamo and saw A Quiet Place.
It's true.
Our favorite downtown movie venue. And I've seen a couple other things there this week.
Favorite, or is it the only one? There are other plenty.
There's LA Live, and there's, a lot of places that will show movies on the rooftop and stuff like that. But that's our go-to, our year-round go-to. So yeah, we both had a kind of a quiet, nice holiday week, I think.
What are we going to talk about today, Danielle?
We are going to have a really fun episode today. We are talking about speakeasies, underground bars, hidden hangouts of downtown LA. And then we'll follow up with a couple of events coming up this week. But I think our main topic is super fun.
Oh, yes, we're going to really share now and talk about bars.
Drinking.
What is the nightlife here in downtown, and share more about the history and where to find them, because a lot of them for me were quite hard to find. I'm not used to go to a bar where the bar is
hidden, but that's kind of by design. So we decided on this topic this week because we just had the unfortunate closing of the Varnish, which was one of the most well-known downtown speakeasy bars. It had been around for about 15 years, and like a lot of places during COVID, took a hit and then, just struggled to recover. And it was well known as a kind of an example of the modern speakeasy and the cocktail culture. And it was a tiny little place that was in a back room of another restaurant. So it was a, genuinely you had to know how to find it kind of place. But it was a neighborhood favorite. And unfortunately, they closed their doors this last week. And so we thought it would be a good time to kind of talk about that type of place and what it means to downtown, and hopefully get people to, come down and check it out and support those kind of local, unique places to, that are important to the neighborhood like this.
Yeah. And the Varnish was really to describe the experience, because it's not like your typical bar. When it was there, it was really like a comeback in the 30s, the Prohibition time, and you have a piano in the middle of this very little bar that is hidden inside of another bar. And I've seen sometimes some people start playing the piano, and it's like you are yourself next to the piano. You could almost put your drinks, on the, so you feel that you are part of the band, and where the atmosphere is very small, and we are all on each other. It was an amazing experience. The cocktail were very, very good. It's so sad that this place closed. Yes,
it is. But there are lots of other places that we would like to talk about too. So hopefully we can, people can head down to those places and we can generate some interest and keep them around as long as possible.
Just to introduce the little agenda for today. So we're going to talk about the history and why Speakeasy, what it is, and you're going to share about that. I will after share a bit more about my European perspective on bars in Los Angeles, and to share a bit more how I see that and why different it is from Europe. And then we're going to go through several Speakeasy to explain really where they are, how to find them, what is their, what are they about, and we will really comment on a few that we know and that we like very much. And then finally, in the end, we will talk about what are the upcoming events for next week. This is a bit our little program for the podcast today. So let's start by let's be chronological. What is the history? What is the history of these specific?
So speakeasies are kind of a uniquely American thing. Like you said, it's not, Europe doesn't have this type of drinking establishment, and it's because of Prohibition. In 1919, the U.S. Congress passed the Volstead Act, which was the 18th Amendment to the Constitution, which banned liquor across the United States. And that was in effect for about 13 years into the 30s. And so for all of the 1920s, we have this image of people, the flappers and the nightclubs and the jazz, but liquor was illegal. Of course, that didn't stop it, but it did drive it underground. So with nowhere else to go for a drink, people turned to speakeasies, which were hidden, often underground, secret bars. They couldn't operate publicly, obviously. And the name Speakeasy, can you guess where that came from?
It's not even, it's strange for an English word.
It's because people were supposed to speak easy. They were supposed to speak quietly because they didn't want to attract the attention of the police, or, these bars were supposed to be private, secret. So speak easy at the speakeasy. And so it's very kind of fun, like slang from the 20s that has still carried over today. Of course, it's no longer illegal, but we still have that style of bar from that time. People kind of like that feeling of like, oh, there's someplace secret and you have to know about it and it's hidden and it's dark and jazzy and just like the Varnish. So,
I thought that it's a kind of strange idea that of course, to prohibit alcohol is already a strange idea, especially that those who voted for that already knew that they would themselves drink, probably. Yes. So it was a lot of hypocrisy at this time. It's like prohibiting, abortion, but you go to another state. It's like a crazy idea. What I think is interesting is that we prohibit alcohol, and then people could probably buy alcohol anywhere, but the culture of bar had to stay. So even if you could probably illegally buy alcohol in some specific place and drink at home, and you would have no problem with anyone because nobody would know. But no, you need to go into a specific place to meet friends or meet people and stay in this concept of bar, and where the alcohol is part of the space itself.
Yeah, it's a social thing.
Yes, you need to reproduce this social concept. So it's not really about being drunk, it's about meeting people and drinking.
Yeah, exactly. So, and in fact, I read somewhere that during Prohibition, there were twice as many speakeasies in the United States as there had been legal bars before Prohibition. So it was not just that people wanted to continue having a place to go drink. There was some appeal to it being a secret, then I think, that made it even more popular. So,
Sure.
Yeah. But so there were a number of bars, of course, in LA that were, at the time, lots of them, but some of the most well-known ones are King Eddie's Saloon, 5th in Los Angeles, which was open up until the last few years. It closed, I want to say, about 7 years ago. But and it had some tunnels in the basement that connected under to some secret passages, so people could sneak the alcohol in and out. Cole's French Dip, where we have been for our trivia night a couple weeks ago.
And this is where the Varnish used to be. So
yes,
that's at the back, of course.
In there, and they operated as a speakeasy during Prohibition, and Edison, which is still around. Yeah, so in LA in particular, and probably in a lot of other cities, there were tunnels underneath some of the government buildings like City Hall and the Hall of Records that were initially dug to help alleviate traffic issues and so that the trolley lines could run there. But of course, they were also used to move alcohol from place to place and supply the underground bars.
I would love to know a bit more about all these tunnels, because there are so many rumors about, like they used to have like tunnels under Hollywood Bar, for example, because like celebrities wanted to not be seen for some reason. This is crazy. There's a lot of like, I think that around the rumored tunnel of Los Angeles, half of them is probably not true. We just love the idea that there are tunnels everywhere, but the effort to build a tunnel is like it's quite complex.
Yeah, but how useful once Prohibition started as a way to like get and sneak into the bars too. I imagine people would go straight from City Hall, lawmakers from City Hall, straight into the underground speakeasies.
Of course, lawmakers were the first one. Isn't it? With their friends from the police.
Yeah. But and a lot of the speakeasies at the time, too, required the secret passwords and codes and things like that, which, I don't know how much it really deterred people, but it was probably part of the culture and the fun. And some of them still do that, too, just as a way to, kind of enhance that experience. And or the other thing I read, too, was that a lot of them were hidden behind other businesses. So King Eddie's, for example, was piano shop on the street front was actually a piano shop, and then it had a full basement underneath that was the bar until 1933 when Prohibition was repealed.
Yeah, what is the reason, by the way, that they repealed the Prohibition?
I think they just realized it wasn't working and that it was actually causing more problems. The fact that alcohol wasn't legal, so you couldn't regulate it, so it was being used just as much, but
it's a bit like the cannabis industry now.
Yeah,
we are regulating.
I think it's a very similar kind of approach. Yeah.
Can you imagine that the beginning of Hollywood, it was during the Prohibition, the time where all of these people being famous and being rich and having crazy parties, it was the Prohibition time. It doesn't make sense, huh?
Yeah, I think there was I don't think anyone really thought it worked, and it just was sort of happening. It was happening anyway, so. But that's the origin of the speakeasy and that culture. But how does that? You mentioned earlier that it's different than the bar culture in Europe. So how what is that difference? How do you see it?
So to me, I see that having going into a bar or drinking alcohol in the United States is still something that looks like not good. It's
there's a negative.
There's a huge negative connotation to that idea. Where in Europe it's part of the cultural life. So, I think about, people, you cannot drink in the street. You have to hide. If you drink a beer in the street, you would have to put a little, a bag around your beer to hide that you are drinking that. This kind of thing is very specific to here, where if you go to Berlin, you can drink in the metro, you take your beer in a can and you can drink it in the metro. Nobody will, it will be something very normal or anywhere in Europe. So we have a kind of very different approach to what is the purpose of alcohol and the social place. And in Europe, we have a bar is very open. It's not hidden. It has to be, at the street level. With the door open and you can easily enter. You don't have to show your ID.
I mean, there is a drinking age though, right?
There is a drinking age, but that will be 16 or 18 in some countries, but usually 16. The control will just happen when, at the bar, if someone looks really young, the bartender could ask for the ID, but by default, we don't ask for the ID. So there is not this barrier to enter a bar. So, you have a lot of bars are on the street. You have terrace, patio, we say in English, a patio.
Patio, yeah.
A patio, so, where you can just sit down. It's not like closed by a barrier or guardrails that we have here. I don't understand why. It is very easy to enter, very easy to exit.
It's part of the street life.
It's part of the street life, and it really connects the street with the people in the street with the bar. It's very easy to enter, which is reversed than the concept here. So if I think about even we are not talking about speakeasy, but if you talk about just a dive bar, for example, a lot of bars here, I think about the Hang Bar, but it's the case for many. If they have windows, the windows will be occulted, will be covered. And for a reason that I never really understood, is that, if you, so that people from outside cannot see that this guy is actually drinking, but I don't know why.
I think you want that like cozy, dark experience. I don't know.
Yes, but yeah, it's a very strange concept for me. Yeah, you want to have this kind of, but it doesn't exist to have. I mean, there are really few bars that are just like a bar, at the street level with an open door, and where you see the light of, you see the sun. It's quite not.
Well, I think we still, in a lot of ways, have a very Puritan culture, and I think that prohibition wasn't necessarily the cause of that. It was a symptom, since the beginning of the U.S. and the Quakers and the groups that came, the Puritans that came from Europe. They came because they were trying to establish that sort of culture, and I think that's still kind of in our culture a little bit, the Puritan. So that's probably why. Not only, is there this history of this kind of bar that, has kind of, when a lot of U.S. cities were growing and we're attracting a lot of population, but also because that's just sort of part of our natural.
National.
You know what I mean? Not the title. It's part of our national character.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the reasons that type of bar has flourished here.
Yeah. But if I think about comparing with Brussels in Belgium, where I come from, but it's the case for every major city, we have, the nightlife is, you have a department at the city hall dedicated to that thing, not to really to try to suppress it, but to try to make it thriving. Everybody would think about Amsterdam, Brussels, the same. In Paris, you have like a great city life night where a lot of nightclubs or bars or festivals of things are organized to have people gathering. So it's we see it as a very positive thing that a city needs.
Right.
We need to have a policy about nightlife. Because we need a nightlife. Not having a nightlife will make the citizen of the city not very happy. Some of them, not everyone, but a lot of them would need to have a nightlife, and we would think in a positive way on how to make this nightlife as interesting as possible.
Well, I think that's something that downtown could use. One of the things that I think we struggle with in this neighborhood is that at night, the more active the neighborhood is at night, the more people who are out, the better it is for the businesses, for the residents, for public safety, for everyone. So one of the reasons I hear sometimes that people from other parts of Los Angeles don't come downtown is because they think it's empty at night. And so, anything we can do to kind of boost that, I think would be helpful.
Yes, but I checked before, and so there is a lot of regulation in LA and everywhere in the US to restrict this nightlife as much as possible. So for example, our bars, you pay, of course, more tax because you are selling alcohol. Just to be sure, alcohol is dangerous for health. I'm not against the idea. We know that it's dangerous if you don't drink and drive, but we are not talking about that. I'm talking about the idea that it's part of it's a social place for people to gather.
Right.
They drink, they have drink also, but here we are talking about the role that this social space can have in the European life. And yes, as you said, here it's almost criminalized because we think that having a bar, a nightclub will increase the criminality.
Yeah.
Which is not. There is no study about that. So, and it could be even reverse, is that a well-regulated nightlife, will decrease the criminality because yes, this bar will be open if they are not like Speakeasy down, and hidden if they are just in the street at the street level. It will, of course, to have people who are permanently there and who can see where the street, and would decrease the level of criminality. So there is a kind of, we should look at that in a more objective way, instead of being like alcohol is dangerous. Bar will, people will be drunk and then they will, and there will be fight or there will be violence. No, you can actually have a policy to make a nightlife a positive thing that helps the city and the citizen of the city. I think about, for example, the drinking and driving, which is of course a gigantic issue. There is in Europe areas which have more bars that are open very late, will have better public transportation to bring people in and out from this area, to avoid them to take any transportation, to avoid them to take their own car. Where here, during the night, who would be, it's dangerous to actually take the metro. during the day, the metro is absolutely normal,
Yeah.
and I take it all the time. But during the night, if you are alone and you have to go back to Hollywood or to whatever, of course, for a lot of people, they would prefer to take their own car and then they will drink and drive. And compared to Europe, there is so few control also that they don't have any incentive to not do that. So there's a lot of policies that we could, we could change to make it like a more vibrant area, and especially downtown, because it's a big place for nightlife.
Well, there is like Uber and taxis and Waymo now, but it's not cheap, especially if you're taking it to another part of town. So
Yes.
I know that driving is, unfortunately, feels like the only option to a lot of people.
Yeah. I just think about two things that I think for me as very crazy is that there is a limit of 2 a.m. So every bar has to be closed at 2 a.m. in the city. Why? I mean, we are all adults, isn't it? People can, everywhere in the world, there is not this kind of limit. Why here? Imagine the number of jobs that we would create if we could open a little bit later. How many bars, how many people could be hired to actually entertain all of these people. And I think also, yes, this idea that drinking in the street is strange or should be prohibited. There is it's very Puritan as a concept, and it doesn't mean anything. People drink in the street; they just hide it, but they drink in the street. Can we just look at this reality in a more objective way and assume yes, this is what they do, and stop criminalizing that? What we're gonna find because someone is drinking a little kind of beer on Broadway, we're gonna be we're gonna send you to prison. What is that? What kind of crime is that?
One of the issues with downtown, with allowing people to drink on the street, though, is that it's still, even in a neighborhood like downtown, the streets are very much designed for car traffic. And so there's several lanes of traffic, a narrow sidewalk, and it's possibly not safe to have people, drinking, whether that's hanging out and drinking or being drunk, on the street. And so I think that's changing, though, because, for example, 7th Street, they're narrowing it and putting in bike lanes. And so they're taking steps to start kind of slowing down and reducing some of the through traffic that goes through the neighborhood. And I think the Olympics, which we'll talk about at some point, will help that too. But I think there's also a safety argument for why they don't want people out.
Yeah, to me, it's super patronizing, as we are in the land of the free, but I cannot have even one beer, on the street, everywhere in the world. It's my own responsibility to not be drunk and to not die, under a car. But yes, if you take 1 or 2 beers, what will happen? Everybody is taking 1 or 2 beers from time to time, and so what is the?
Well, you have to go to a speakeasy.
Yes, so I would love this to change, maybe for the Olympic Games, because Los Angeles will be a little bit of a shame for all of the world when they will come and they will say, at 2 a.m. our party is over, for French people, for whatever, the party is over at 2 a.m. What is that? And then who cannot drink? There is a little bit of, things that could change to make this city a more mature place for nightlife, I think. So that's a bit my little comparison about Europe and the things that I search in them. Yes. Yeah.
No, I've spent quite a bit of time in Europe too, and you're right. There really isn't the same thing here where you can just sit on the, at a bar on a patio, and it's part of the neighborhood and part of people walking by and stuff. Unfortunately, so so we'll see. Even in a neighborhood like this, which is maybe one of the most pedestrian-friendly neighborhoods in Los Angeles, we don't have that.
Yeah. There are so many spaces. I have plenty of ideas where you could have a little patio and just have a little white wine. This is so nice on a Sunday afternoon. Who's gonna be heard from? I think
open your own place.
It would be such a LA would be different and better to live if we had a more mature, adult discussion about alcohol. It's okay now. I think it would.
Well, since we don't, should we talk about?
No, let's talk about all these amazing places. So sure, yes. Now we are going to talk about these hidden places. I love them also. I love them. I just sometimes I would love to have a little white wine on the street, like in Paris.
White wine on the street one of these days.
One day. have fun. Let's talk about all the different bars for you that we're gonna.
Yeah, so we're going to just kind of highlight a few of them. There's obviously, we're not going to be able to cover everything. There's a lot of them, but a few of the different types of kind of what we're calling speakeasies, but in a lot of cases are underground bars, kind of hidden. There are bars that are, out in the open in hotel lobbies or connected to a restaurant or something like that. So there's no great definition of an underground bar or speakeasy, but that's, I think you know it when you see it, that kind of thing. So a lot of them, in terms of the culture of the modern speakeasy, they've got that dark retro feel. They feel like they've been around since Prohibition, even if they haven't. That's often the kind of vibe they're going for. A lot of them offer live music. Like you said, the Varnish, had a piano. They would often have jazz. A couple of the ones we talk about will have music almost nightly, which is a lot of fun. And a lot of them you can get, beer and wine, but we'll have an emphasis on craft cocktails or liquor, like whiskey, which probably during Prohibition was popular too, because it's easier to transport higher alcohol content liquor than big beer bottles and tubs of beer and stuff.
That's true.
So yeah, I'm going to start with one called the Crocker Club. What I like about this one, and we have a few that are like this, is it's in the old banking district, which we now call the historic core, that part of downtown. It's on Spring Street, Spring and Fifth. And
how do we, because how do we get there?
Okay.
Describe how do we enter?
It is, so most of these are in a basement of old banks, a lot of them in that part of town. So this is also in the basement of the old National Bank, Citizens National Bank. And they have maintained the design of the original bank vault from the 90s. They have the big steel bank vault door, which a lot of the bars downtown, if they're in the old banks, have. And they have an area in the back called a ghost bar, because many people, including the staff, have claimed to have seen spirits in that part.
I guess there was a lot of spirit.
It's kind of spirits. You're correctly.
Sorry, English is my second. So when I see a joke, I want to do it.
But yeah, so the Crocker Club is one of those kind of classic bank basement hidden speakeasies.
Yes, it's under the last bookstore.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
Because many people know the last bookstore, but you don't know that under the last bookstore there is this place. Yeah.
Yes, the Crocker Club. So that's the first one. Tell us about another one.
Yeah, I will talk about the Continental Club, because I went there very recently. I have never been before. I didn't know that there was one, because you really also need to know. So the Continental Club is under the Continental building, which is the oldest high-rise building in downtown. It's on Spring Street and 4th. And to enter, it's not so easy. You have to be on 4th. So it's just left of the building, left side of the building. There's like an open street. It's a back. You enter there, and a little bit further on the right side, there will be a kind of door. You think that it goes to a basement. There's nothing, no big sign to actually enter. And then you go down and you arrive to this Continental Club. I went there to see the debates between Trump and Biden, because they were doing this.
They did a viewing party?
Yeah, a viewing party. And so the place is very beautiful in the theme, Chinese theme, red. I suppose there is a kind of a feeling of Asia. So very Art Deco style inside. Yeah, I absolutely recommend it. And I just noticed that by doing some research, that actually at the back of this hidden bar, there is a second hidden bar that is called the private room. So somewhere else there is but I haven't been, but so there is like.
Hey, we'll check it out.
It's a Christopher Nolan movie, Yeah. It's like a very nice place. I need to go back.
Okay.
Yes. What is the next one?
The next one is also in that same area. It's called this is a relatively new bar. They opened a few years ago, but it's in the basement of the Eldorado Lofts at 416 South Spring. And this building was actually built in 1914 as a hotel, and the basement, the original tenant in the basement was a speakeasy when Prohibition started. So it's even though the Stowaway itself is relatively new, the history of that space is is originally Speakeasy. And the cool thing about the Stowaway is it's a piano bar. So first of all, it's a big space. It's got the whole basement, but they have live music every night they're open. They'll do like a weekly jam session where people can just show up with their instrument or to sing and jump in. And it's a really cool place to go hear some music and be part of, kind of the neighborhood community, which shows up for the jam sessions. And also, they have a hidden bar in the back of the Stowaway. Oh, it's actually in the front. You come in and you turn around to the left and go underneath the sidewalk. And it's called the Rio Room. And it's a little bit smaller space, and they will have more DJs and kind of weekly happy hours and stuff like that. So that's also in that same neighborhood, and they have that same theme. So.
It's under the restaurant Le Petit Paris.
That's right. Yeah.
For those
If you know the neighborhood, yeah.
And I learned recently that this building, actually, which is very beautiful, it's the building where there's the DTLA, the Diners Club also. And this building, Charlie Chaplin was living there.
Oh, really?
Yes. Okay. So he probably went.
He probably drank in the basement.
He was there during Prohibition, and he didn't like rules, so I think he probably yes. I think
Cool.
Okay.
What's next?
Oh, I have next the Death and Co. And then for the Death and Co, which is in our district, on 3rd Street, so at 818 on 3rd Street. I've been there several times. And I know this bar even more that one day in Brussels, I was in a bar, in a cocktail bar. There is no culture of cocktail in Brussels like here. Why? Because in Belgium we do
beer.
We do beers. Yeah. So that's what we are good at. So it's very new that you have like some cocktail bars, and so I was surprised into this bar, and then I started talking to the bartender, and I said I'm living in LA, and he said, "Oh, in Los Angeles, you should absolutely go to Death and Co. It's world famous bar. It's one of the best in the world, where they are doing their own cocktail, and they are actually doing also a magazine, and they are publishing information about. So they are an absolute reference about that in our district. It's dark, like you cannot imagine. Have you been, or you've been? So going there, it's like so dark. You have to open curtain, and so you again is under. Yes, you have someone at the entrance that will help you to enter, and then you will have to go down the stairs and go through some corridors, and finally arrive into this super dark place. But cocktails are amazing. It's all like their own creation of that. It's a great bar.
Yeah.
Super great bar for a date. I recommend it for a date. Yeah. This is where the date can go really well.
Okay. Yeah, not a historic place, but a relatively new place, but in that tradition. So, it's a great place. They have great cocktails. So the next one I'm going to mention is called the Slipper Clutch, 351 South Broadway. And this, again, is a underground speakeasy style bar that focuses on live music. So they'll do most nights that they're open, they have live music, kind of more rock bands, less jazz, but a little bit more modern music. It's in the Grayson building. It's next to Kippered, which was the place where I went on the 4th of July. So it's in that strip on Broadway that's starting to have a lot more businesses kind of open just south of Grand Central Market. And so it's in that strip. But
and is it underground?
It is. Yeah, you enter on the ground level.
Yeah, okay.
It says the Grayson, so it looks like that's the ground.
The next one is a new addition to my list because I discovered it very recently. It's the Queensberry. I discovered it because I met with the owner at the Diners Club, and it's this lady. She's super cool. She speaks a bit of French, if I remember well, and so she's the owner of the Queensberry as well as the owner of the Continental.
Okay.
So that's it goes to the same people. And Queensberry is super hard to find. So I will try to give some explanation.
Okay, tell us how to get
But it's between Flower Street and Figueroa, so very close to where I live, and south of 8th Street.
Okay.
So to enter, you have to go to the back street, which is in between Flower and Figueroa. So you go into this back street, there is almost zero indication. So this place is like a parking, so it looks like dangerous, of course, like a back street, and essentially it looks like, in like any film noir. This is how it looks like, with like a garbage and things. And then around the middle of the street,
So it's like in an alleyway?
It's an alleyway, yes. In the middle there. When it's open, Because if it's not open, you cannot see anything. You will never guess that there is a bar there.
Yeah.
But if it's open, then the door is open, and then there is a little sign that helps you to enter.
Okay.
But I would be afraid to even enter the street, when it's dark.
Yeah.
But so you have to dare to go there. But then you go down. It's an amazing also bar, great for dates.
Oh, awesome.
Very romantic place. A great cocktail, and there is if I remember, a super cool happy hour.
Well, we'll at some point we should do an episode on happy hours because we've got a spreadsheet, and we'll talk about downtown happy hours.
Yeah.
We'll add that to it. And then I wanted to mention Jackalope, which is Jackalope. It's Jackalope. Do you know what a jackalope is?
I don't know. What is it?
It is. What do you think it is? Have any guesses?
Really? I mean, in French, it doesn't mean anything. Salope in French is, but can we say that on Spotify? It's okay.
I think so.
Yeah. But so Jackalope, I don't know what it means.
No, it's a mythical creature that is half jackrabbit, half antelope.
Jackrabbit?
A rabbit.
A rabbit.
Yeah, with antelope horns. So it's not real, but it supposedly exists, especially in like the Western U.S. So you go, if you buy a, postcard where I grew up in Nebraska, we would joke about the jackalopes. So it's kind of an inside joke that, about the, this fake animal in the American West. So I'm going to start calling it Jackalope though for now.
Jackalope.
So it's a bar Jackalope at 515 West 7th. It's actually in the back of another bar again. The bar in the front is called 7 Grand, but this is in the back upstairs. So technically not underground, but kind of a speakeasy hidden sort of feel. And
it's a very speakeasy to enter to Jackalope. To enter there, you have to knock at the door.
Mm-hmm.
It's like or you have to ring. So if I remember, so it's at the back of the 7 Grand. So it's on your way to go to the toilet if you are at the 7 Grand, and it's on your right side if I remember well. And then there is a little ring, and then someone will open and enter and say, did you book a table? Or, are you sure that it's here that you should be? And so you feel like, and then, yes, if you booked or if there's enough space, you can enter.
And they're known they have a cigar patio, so you can buy cigars and smoke, and their whiskey. So, and you can actually have like a membership. You can buy an expensive bottle of whiskey and they'll store it there for you and then pour you glasses when you come drink your whiskey. So it's a little bit of an experience.
All of the most exceptional whiskey. It's very dedicated for people who are connoisseurs. Jackalope. That this is, if you love whiskey, this is probably the most exclusive place where you can go.
Yeah. And there's a bar in the basement also of that building that's opened just about a year ago, maybe. It's relatively new. It's CDMX, which it's more Mexican cocktails. So they do mezcal and tequila and that sort of thing in the basement of that building. And they have a good happy hour.
Yes. So this building is entirely dedicated to sins,
Yes.
So you at the ground floor you had a restaurant which is now closed or something is open. I don't know. The first floor you have 7 Grand, which is a very known bar, a great, amazing bar, and then at the back the Jackalope, and at the basement you have the CDMX, which is a completely different feeling.
Right.
But this building you can find something for you. Just in one building you have 3 different bars already. So it's quite cool.
And then give us a couple more here.
Yes. So one that I discovered a few months ago is the Rhythm Room, which is under the Hotel A Ward. Mm-hmm. And this is a very surprising thing. So this hotel is on the 6th Street and Spring, but you enter from the 6th. And it's usually the guy at the entrance. And so it looks like, yes, it's a place where you can go. But it looks like it's a very small place with a small stairs to enter directly from the street. But inside it's gigantic. It's gigantic. It's I don't know how big. It's a very large space where you have a full stage with concert. Yeah, you can have a few hundred people probably there. So it looks crazy because it's such a small entrance, but inside you can probably have a few hundred people. It's a complete discovery. There was the music when I went was really amazing. You can play games. You can pools and this type of things. A great bars, a great cocktail. Yes, it's a very strange feeling to imagine that you have this huge space completely hidden. Yeah. It's a great bar. And then you have some cover fees also at the entrance. I remember, $5 $5, $10, pay it, because it looks strange. Oh, I have to pay. I don't know what it is because it's inside. Go for it. Pay your $5 or $10 and go inside, because you're not gonna regret it. It's interesting to go there.
Yeah.
Yes. Which one?
And then there's a bar right near your place, right? That's focused on rum.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I also have the Cana. I don't know how to pronounce it because it's probably in Spanish. It's called the Cana Rhum Bar, and it's also very close to the Queensberry. It's here on Flower Street with Olympic, at the level of Olympic. It's in this old building, and then there is like a sign about the bar outside, but sometimes you might not really see it. Trust me, there is a kind. You have to enter through a parking. Mm-hmm. There's a parking garage. You're like, what the fuck is that? A bar, and you have to enter first, and it's usually an empty parking inside of the building. Yeah. And then you just go all the way through the back of this parking, and then you will have a guy who will welcome you and say, "Oh, yeah," where you can enter to this place. So it's dedicated to rum. So they have it's very Latino. They have a lot of drinks around rum, and then you have some level of subscription. There is also a cigar place that is outside. But that's like you can have like great parties there when it's a bit late. There is a cool happy hour, but I think there is a system of subscription also. If you arrive late, you have to be member of their own social club. But I think if you arrive before 9, you will have no issue. It's also a very great discovery.
I have not been there, so I'm going to go there for sure. And I'll mention one more from my part. Cranes on 8th and Spring, which is underground, again, an old bank building. It's in that historic core district, and they have the bank vault door too there, where you can see, and you go in there, and it's a little bit more of a dive bar. They do a lot of beer, they show sports events, but it's also kind of a neighborhood hangout. So
yes, I used to live just next to it, so it was my little.
Yes, we used to go there quite a bit. We went there on New Year's Eve last year. So we celebrated we're ringing the New Year at Cranes.
If you go there and if you see if the waiter is Fernando, you can say hello from us.
Fernando takes care of us.
Yes, maybe he will give you a little discount on some drinks. I don't know. No, it's a great place. Yeah. Also very hidden. And finally, just for the record, because we have to, if we are talking about a hidden place there, the Reserve on Spring Street, 650 Spring Street, which is the area of the nightclubs, where you have like 2-3 space for nightclubs or like large events. Mm-hmm. And this one is under the bank. And so the entire, it's a nightclub, it's a huge space, even bigger than the Rhythm Room that I just talked about. Is way bigger than that. It's a full nightclub, but it's all underground and it's all in the safe of the bank. So you still see all the doors, and it's like it has a unique cachet. But that is really for your night, your late night. Okay. Yeah. That is the whole tour of the.
So, yeah, that's.
And there are others. Yeah. Okay, we just selected to share how it is great to live downtown. You have so many options. Okay.
Yeah, if we didn't mention your favorite one or we didn't mention your bar, we apologize. We couldn't do them all, but let us know and we'll talk about it in a future episode for sure.
Yes, and of course invite us.
Invite us over and tell us about your place and give us a drink or two, and we'd be happy to talk about it. But So we're going to talk briefly about upcoming events and then stick around afterward for a secret, hidden little segment that we're gonna do in honor of our theme this week. Yes. So tell us what's coming up this week.
So we have just 2 events that we want to talk about. The first one is the DTLA Art Night on July 11 this week. So where it's the whole historic core that is open in the evening, where you have a lot of galleries that are open, and where people are moving from art galleries to art galleries and to event space, where you can drink also in every gallery. Yeah. And it's the great moment to discover the local artists, the people that are living here, and they show what they are doing. We have a lot of artists living in our area. And
you mentioned earlier, Francois Pierre Couture, who lives in our neighborhood and is a friend of ours, and he is going to be doing a live art demonstration that night at Garçon in the Spring Street Arcade. So people can go check that out and have a drink and watch him do his art.
Absolutely. So Garçon de Café is inside the arcade building. And this is where Daniel and I met.
Yeah, it's our little local hangout.
Yes.
And then also DTLA Restaurant Week starts July 12th.
Yeah, what is that? I don't know what
it's very cool.
Okay.
It's an event that takes place all over Los Angeles, but there's a lot of restaurants downtown that are participating. And so restaurants will put together prefix menus for usually lunch and dinner, depending on what when they're open. So you can try a full menu of their most popular dishes, usually for a set price. So for lunch, depending on the restaurant's regular, prices, they'll set it at $15 or $25, or I think the evening ones go up to maybe $55, $65. But you can have a multi-course dinner for a set price, and you can try a number of their most popular dishes and try a new place for a reasonable amount. So they do it twice a year, and I'm definitely going to try a couple new places downtown and check them out. So we'll have the links for all of these things, by the way, all of these bars and these events in the show notes and on our Instagram and stuff. So
it's perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is the moment where we're gonna practice. I mean, this is being professional. Then we're gonna visit for you, and we're gonna give you some the taste of what it is.
A little in-person experience.
Yes.
The Speakeasy culture. So
yes, but for now we're gonna say goodbye.
So if you're under 21, this is where you exit. No, everyone can come along to the audio portion of the evening. But
yes.
So.
Okay.
All right. Well, this was fun.
Yes. Have a great week ahead.
Yeah. Have a good week, and hope to see everyone at the art night or restaurant week or someplace at one of the bars downtown.
Absolutely.
All right.
Have a good one.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.